if it works. Yep. Great.
Awesome. Thank you.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Anna. I am one of the board members with the US Federation of Worker Cooperatives, and welcome to the board member informational session, where we're going to have a few of our board members today talk about our experience serving on the board of the US Federation of Worker Cooperatives and give an opportunity for some of our members to ask questions so they can learn what it's like. Again, my name is Anna Boyer, and I am currently the longest serving board member, and I'll be leaving the board this year. I live in New Orleans, Louisiana, and my member cooperative is C4 Tech and Design. And so I'm just going to introduce everybody here. I'll start with Araceli, our regional representative from the East. Araceli, going to tell us about yourself?
Sí, buenas tardes, yo soy Araceli Domínguez.
Hola, buenas tardes, soy Araceli Domínguez. I am a regional representative, and this is my second year as a representative of this federation in this board meeting. I would like to invite my partners. I would like to invite my partners to get very informed and to be members and take part in the federation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Araceli. All right, Hillary, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hello, my name is Hillary Johnson, and I am an at-large member of the board. I used to represent the co-op Equal Exchange, but I recently stepped down from that job. And I've been on the board about 3 years, I think, and also want to invite people to get involved.
Great, thank you, Hillary. All right, next we have Denise.
Hi, everyone. I'm Denise Hernandez. I'm from the Bronx. I work at Cooperative Home Care Associates. Been here for about 18 years and been an at-large board member for the Federation for the past, I want to say 8-9 months, maybe now. That sounds about right. Yes. And it's been a really wonderful experience, and I'm sure we're going to be talking about it soon later on today. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Denise. And Gabby, our membership director, is going to facilitate and ask questions that some of us will answer as those come up. So I'll hand it over to you, Gabby. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm Gabby Chapman. I'm the membership director. I use she, they pronouns. I'm based out of East Tennessee. So we've just got some basic questions to kick off this discussion. The first one is, what's it like being on the board? And we have 2 people to respond, Hillary and Denise.
I can go first. On a personal level, I have been just incredibly inspired to serve on this board. It's been really helpful to learn about all the work that board and staff and our membership is doing across the country to build the cooperative movement. Knowing that cooperators are supporting each other and supporting their communities really has made getting through the past couple of years a lot easier for me. The work of the US Federation gives me hope. And on a sort of less personal note, I think it's been very important for the board to have competitive elections so that we get the best possible leadership to help steward the vision of our movement organization.
Thanks, Hillary. Denise, would you like to add in?
Sure. What's it like being on the board? So for me, it's actually the first time that I've ever sat on a board. Here at CHCA, part of my responsibilities is to do board orientation for our home care workers that get elected, but this is so different. It's really been a wonderful opportunity. I was a little nervous when I ran, and I wasn't sure if I was expecting to get elected, but it happens, and I'm really happy that it did. It provided me with an opportunity to get involved outside of CHCA, learn new things. The Federation has wonderful staff members that are super supportive, wonderful board members that have so much knowledge and experience, like Anna, Aracelis, and Hillary. And being new to this, felt the support from them and learning. That's kind of made it really easy. And and have an opportunity to be in something that kind of matter, not kind of, but that matters, that we're pushing our worker ownership, our mission, learning together and like growing this movement. And for me, it's been a totally awesome experience. Thank you.
Thank you. So you touched upon on some of the questions, like the follow-up questions we had to this about what's been challenging. Hillary, do you have any like other examples about what's been challenging with your board service?
Sure. Time has been one of my biggest challenges. When I started on the board, I was in an operational job, so it was hard for me to always be able to step away from my daily work to get to meetings, and also to have enough time before meetings to read all the materials. When I left that operational role, I had a lot more time and flexibility, which also proved to be a challenge because the Federation will always take your work. Like I have spent much more time working on projects than I thought I would. And it's been a process for me to learn how to like discipline myself and set a boundary for myself about when I need to stop. So that's probably my biggest challenge, I think.
Thank you, Hillary. And I think we'll have some like follow-up questions about time further down in the programming. But I'll jump to this next question. This came out of this year with our elections are based regionally, and I just wanted to give some space to help people understand like what it means to be a regional rep and what that experience has been. And this question is for Anna and Araceli.
I can go first, if that's okay. I am the Southern Regional Representative currently, and so this election will be electing a new person to be the Southern Regional Representative and all of the other regions as well. And what that means in general is we fill a regular seat on the board. We go to all the regular meetings like all the other board members, but we also serve as a liaison of sorts to our members in the region. We are elected directly by the members in our region. And so in addition to our staff, sometimes our members will come to us directly with questions or comments or ask us to advocate for them on behalf of their co-op or the region, and just to be a liaison to our staff and the rest of the board for issues that are happening in our area. That can also sometimes mean, where possible, attending events in the region, cooperative events that happen locally, or staying aware of things that are happening in the region, such as local conferences, activism, organizing, and allied organizations. So that's mostly the main difference. We also have a committee that meets quarterly to talk about things that are going on in our regions. We meet with the other regional representatives and staff as well. That's it.
Thanks. Araceli?
Sí, bueno, lo que
Yes. Well, what
muy
Anna
importante
mentioned,
ese enlace y también
it's
la voz
important. Yeah, we're that
es
liaison.
importante que
And we're
estemos
also a voice.
representando a nuestras
And that's the most
voces,
important
ser escuchadas,
because we're
pero al igual
representing
también existe
people who
un
elect
poco de
us.
responsabilidad
And like she said, it's a
saber en la voz
responsibility and just
quisiera que estar en la
being a
mesa
partner,
directiva o ser parte de la
because it seems like being part of the federación or being part of the board is a little complicated.
un gran compañero
But
y
I
ayuda
feel like we have a
así que
great
cualquier
peers
cosa,
and we can
cualquier
work
duda,
with the
alguien nos
co-ops.
acompaña o
So
nos
someone's
a
always
seguir
with
adelante. Creo que
us
también hay
and
que
then they
tenerlo en
push us
cuenta.
to move forward. So that's something we need
No
to keep
estamos
into
solos
account,
y aunque
that we're
representamos
not alone.
varios
And even though you're
también
representing a
apoyamos
region,
y creo que
between
eso es lo
regions, we are
principal
supporting each other.
he visto
And that's the
y
most important thing I've
si das
seen,
un paso atrás, los
that,
demás
you know,
vienen
if
empujándote
you
para que
do
sigas adelante.
one step
Creo que
back,
eso
the
fue
rest
toda
come back and help you move forward. So that's
nos
from what
reunimos
Anna
cada 3
mentioned.
meses
We also meet every 3 months. We see what are the most important topics or of relevance at that moment. And we try to find ways or like a form or different things that we can do to solve the problem or share with the federation to see if they can give us ideas. I think that's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Our next question is related to one of the board responsibilities, and that would be serving on one of our committees. For this regional election, we have a regional reps committee, for example. We also have an executive committee, a bylaws committee, an election committee. I might be missing one, but can you speak more about what it means and what it's like to be on a committee? And kind of describe a little bit about each of those committees and like how they function, and describing some of how the committees work as liaisons or as with councils. And I'll kick this off first to Denise.
So as a board member, I participate in 2 committees. I participate in the executive committee and the bylaws committee. So the executive committee meets like the first Friday of each month. We meet for about 2 hours, and it's the executive director, the president of the board, and a couple of other board members. And the reason why I joined that committee was because I wanted to learn and dig more into what the federation was, because I was a little bit not as involved prior to joining the board meeting, and it gave me like a really wonderful insight. So the executive director talks about plans and strategies and an opportunity to dig a little bit more deeper before like the actual board meeting, which happens like 2 or 3 weeks later. So it gave me an opportunity, or it's giving me an opportunity to learn more and to get more involved and to really understand how the federation operates and what's the mission and how do they drive the strategies behind the mission. So I wanted to join that committee to learn a little bit more and feel that it's been helping. And also I'm on the bylaws committee with Hillary and Anna, and that's kind of provides you an opportunity to read the bylaws. If you have questions, come in and like discuss those questions. But if the membership has questions about the bylaws, it goes to the bylaws committee and they have a discussion, try to, get the answer and respond to any questions that might come up. And I think we meet, we've been meeting like once a month, but yeah, I think we've been meeting once a month just because, you know, we have some tasks on hand, but yeah, so. Thank you.
Thank you. And now I'll pass it to Anna Boyer. I think you have the most institutional, like long-term, long-standing knowledge when it comes to the committees. Can you share more about the different committees we have and sort of the function of the?
Yeah, absolutely. I haven't served on all of the committees, so I can't speak to experience in every single one. And I think the one you may have missed, Gabby, was the membership committee. And it's too hard to remember them all. And the membership committee is the one I have not served on, so I can't speak to that directly, but Araceli has and Hillary has. I've also been on the bylaws committee with Denise and Hillary and the executive committee at some point. The elections committee is another committee that does a lot of work right now while we're preparing for the annual election, whether it's a regional election like this year or an at-large election like next year. The elections committee works with staff to figure out the logistics of the election itself, but also to help our members and other board members recruit candidates to run for the board and find people who are interested in both board seats and other leadership roles. So as we're going to talk about in a second, we have councils as well as other ways to get involved that are not board seats. And so the elections committee gets involved with a little bit of that as well. We like to listen to our members and what they have to say about people in their co-op that they think might be interested in running for the board. And we reach out to them and do events like this. The elections committee is hosting this. Yeah, I think I don't really have much to add on top of what Denise said. It was very thorough. Does somebody else want to speak to the membership committee?
Maybe Araceli, if you, not to put you on the spot, but if you'd like to share a little bit about your experience with the membership committee, I think there's a lot for you to maybe share out this year about some of the things that we've worked on.
Sí, en el comité de
Yes, in the membership committee, we meet once a month. And like Anna was mentioning as a regional representative, something similar that we do is that we meet and we listen to needs from the membership. We look for help and support to the co-ops that are members so they can receive the support with those resources. So that's the reason why we're meeting, you know, to kind of have that link with them. That's kind of what we really do in the membership committee is we work with our members.
And the one thing I'd add to that is, as the membership director, the membership committee is really important when there is a decision that we feel like this is really a board decision, like, you know, when we need like an extra sounding board for something, it's really helpful to have those extra eyes and ears to problem solve. Okay, so the next question is more about the liaisons and our member councils. So we've got Denise, who is sitting on the Union Co-op Council. Can you speak a little bit about that experience and how it's been, Denise?
I couldn't take it off mute. Okay, so I get to sit in this council with a bunch of people that have union co-op experience, and Maddie and Gabby sit in the council as well. So two of the staff members from the Federation. And for me, I like to say why I chose, but I chose this because CHCA is a worker-owned cooperative. And in 2003, we became unionized with 1199 SEIU. And, you know, we've created such a really strong relationship with 1199, a really strong relationship, and one that I think is built on trust, which is, you know, and I think those are the kind of stories that the union co-op likes to highlight. So it's an opportunity for us to sit together and tell like the success stories of cooperatives that are being unionized and what's the impact to the workers and what's the impact to the organization. And just last month, I got an opportunity to go to Chicago and present with some of the members at a labor notes conference and really highlight the work that union and co-ops are doing together. There was people from across the states like Cincinnati, us, other cooperatives. So we have an opportunity to talk about what really works and how are we successful. And they look at case studies and they document case studies of this and gives examples of, you know, how this could be beneficial to both the organization and both the workers. So, Gabby, I'm sure you want to add something else.
Yeah, I'm so happy you're on the council because from my understanding, CHCA is the largest unionized worker co-op in the country. So just having you in that space is like very valuable. The other councils we have are our immigrant-led council, the REJC, which is the Racial and Economic Justice Council, our International Council, and union co-ops. I think I'm missing one. If anyone wants to shout it out, what am I missing?
Policy and advocacy.
Oh yeah, policy and advocacy, which is major. So we have 5 councils, and we try to have a board liaison be a part of each of those councils to create a through line from our staff and member engagement to the board. Okay, so our next question is related to language justice. So I'm curious about what it's like being on a bilingual board and also sharing maybe what some of the challenges might be with that. This question's for.
I don't think anybody volunteered, so I can say a little bit.
Yo no sé, yo no vi que nadie se hiciera voluntario, entonces lo que yo quiero es participar en mi experiencia. I'm sorry.
I'm hearing Spanish.
I'm sorry. Nobody volunteers, so I think I'm going to bring my 5 cents to this.
I'm hearing the interpretation over my channel, just so you know. Apologize. So that's actually a good segue. There are challenges to having a bilingual board, but I'm very, very proud that this is something that we have prioritized as an organization. We've talked about it for years. Right now, we're just bilingual, English and Spanish. Someday, we may be able to support other languages. But right now, especially given the demographics of cooperatives in the United States, these are the 2 languages that have struggled to work together in the past and are coming together because of our commitment to language justice. So it's a wonderful, wonderful thing. It does require a little bit of extra work for everybody. We all have to do our part, including translating anything that we share with the board into both English and Spanish. And we have some tools we use for that to make it easier. We also have support from our staff. Many of them are bilingual themselves. I'm a monolingual English speaker. We have some bilingual English and Spanish speakers on the board and some monolingual Spanish speakers. And it's incredible that we're able to function as an organization relatively smoothly, given with the technology and the wonderful support of the people that we have working with us, including our interpreters today.
Anyone else want to chime in on this topic?
Araceli, creo que
Araceli, I want to talk. I do believe that now when we started to incorporate the changes of language justice, it was when I was starting to participate because it was very important because it was very organized. But of course, I really need to be thankful because I know that meetings that are done in bilingually in both languages can be longer, can take a long time, and I am very thankful that the board, the board took the time. And of course, time is very time consuming. For example, they need to get ready with all the translations of the materials, but also that we have a baseline of things and materials. It is less and less complicated. And when the communication is via Zoom, the communication is more fluent. And I think that when we have simultaneous translation, the time is less time consuming and the time is less. So it has been extremely important it has been a very important thing and a very thing that we are very thankful for, that the board of directors has been compromised in this change and has been looking forward to continue with this change. And I have to say thank you again.
Thank you so much. Does anyone else want to share? I'll say a few things. I think just becoming or being on this in this staff and a part of this organization, the fact that the Federation has tried to center language justice is a large departure from other organizations I've worked with in the past. So I feel really thankful that it's an item or a topic that we are consistently talking about. I do want to be frank. I think there are limitations to that. Like, I think one of the things that we want to think about more is how to build the budget for language justice out more robustly, and finding funding for it. It's always a challenge. But I think as the organization grows, that we are really continuing to devote resources to it. Okay, so the next question was, it kind of goes back to the questions we had earlier about time. So we can talk a little bit about how much time you expect or would expect to devote to the board. And I think we've got some different sections here, but I think I have this for Anna, if you want to jump in here.
Okay. I think the first thing I would say is that the amount of time that you should expect to commit to working on the board will vary depending on the individual and also depending on what's happening at the time. Sometimes some months are going to be busier. If you're, if you're the treasurer, you might have more work to do during the tax season, things like that. But generally speaking, we all attend meetings, committee meetings, and those have a fixed amount of time. And so we, as a group, estimated that somewhere between 9 and 15 hours would be spent on board work on an average month. Not every month would be the same, but that includes the 2-hour board meeting that we have, and the expectation that it might take about 2 hours to prepare for that board meeting, reading reports, thinking about questions, reading agenda items, and then coming to the meeting prepared. So about 4 hours per month for that board meeting, plus the committee work, depending on what committees you decide you want to be on. You would probably end up spending 2 to 5 more hours on a committee. And then if you serve on the executive committee, like Denise currently does, they meet every month and dig in more on several topics. So that's a couple of extra hours, but not everybody is on that committee. And then sometimes, as Hillary was describing, there are projects that some of us volunteer to work on, and those are intermittent. So they come up, we work on a project, and the next month there might be no project. So 9 to 15 hours is probably a conservative estimate. Most of our meetings are held during what you would call traditional business hours, 9 to 5 Eastern time, roughly. So That can sometimes be a challenge for people who need to set time aside during their workday, if those are their work hours. But a lot of the other work can be done after hours, such as reading reports and preparing for the meeting later on. Would anybody else like to add anything?
I think you covered it all, Anna.
Thank you so much. It is quite a commitment. I mean, 9 to 15 hours a month is a lot. So I think there are things to, consider when it comes to making that type of commitment. And I do think like in the future board is always in a position to assess like what's working, what's not working. And I think one important piece is, as Anna mentioned, was currently we meet during mostly business hours, but I think there always are considerations about, thinking about ways to accommodate folks that are working daytime hours. So just wanted to flag that. The next question is, how are meetings held and are you required to travel? And there's several parts to this question, but anyone that wants to jump in, feel free. Hillary?
Sure, I can take this one. Our regular monthly meetings are all held virtually over Zoom with interpretation. We also have an annual meeting that during normal times is in person, and board members are encouraged to attend. The Federation will pay lodging, airfare, and conference registration, since the annual meeting usually happens during the conference. And then in addition, there is usually one annual retreat per year, again with travel expenses paid by the Federation. We haven't had that for a little while because of the pandemic, but I would expect probably it will happen with this next upcoming board year. We'll see how things go.
Would anyone else like to jump in? Okay, so we'll jump to the next question. So what are things you would need to be successful in this role? So what type of tools do we have to make it easier for folks to serve on the board?
I can answer some of this. We mostly use technological tools to facilitate our board work. Hillary already mentioned Zoom. Our meetings are held virtually over Zoom with interpretation. The interpretation is live, simultaneous in English and Spanish. We use Google Docs for a lot of our collaborative writing and storage of our some of our working projects. So a lot of people are familiar with Google Docs, but not everybody. So it does help if you have some familiarity with that. We use an application, a service called box.com for the storage of our materials, our archive of materials. It's very similar to Dropbox or even some other services that people might be familiar with. Very easy to learn. Yeah, so those are mostly the tools that we use. We have a shared calendar. We often use scheduling applications to help figure out the best time for meetings. Almost all of these things are online since we are a remote, or all of our meetings are held remotely. So there is an expectation that people will be able to use the technology in order to collaborate with the fellow board members and staff. Did I miss anything anybody else would like to add? Anything of note?
If not, I'll ask a follow-up question that's very similar. But what are some tools that would be required or needed to serve on the board?
I can take that one too if nobody else wants to. Because we are a remote board, access to the internet is really important, whether that's at your house or your workplace, somewhere that you can be during the scheduled meetings. That we also use online collaboration tools, so internet is typically necessary for that. You can use your phone for internet for a Zoom call if anybody has experience with that. I know we all done it sometimes when we're en route somewhere, but it is easier with a computer because sometimes you need to see multiple things at once. Our staff will share their screen to show reports. That's easier on a computer screen. And yeah, just want to reiterate that both Spanish and English languages are fully supported with limitations, as Gabby was describing. It's not perfect yet, but we are really committed to language justice. And so we want to really emphasize that we encourage people who might worry that language is a barrier to their participation, that we're committed to helping people work through those barriers. We want all of our members to feel like they can run for the board and participate in leadership equally.
Thank you so much. Okay, so at this time, I want to open up the floor if there are any other lingering comments, other questions, things that maybe popped up in your mind as we were going through some of these questions. Yeah, go for it.
I have a sort of a closing thought that was inspired by stuff that other people were saying. I kind of jumped right into the logistics of it, but I can't emphasize enough how supportive this board and staff have been to my own leadership growth for this whole time that I've been on here, serving on the board. It's been a magnificent experience. I take a lot of that experience and knowledge that I've learned from my peers here back to my cooperative. I think to me, that's one of the greatest values of serving on a board like this for an organization that does such important work is I'm able to learn from people who are doing this every day and bounce ideas off of them and bring that back to the work that I do every day. And that's just amazing to have that opportunity. And it's just always been an incredible group. Every year we have a few new board members and everybody has been awesome. We have a lot of new staff members. Everybody's been awesome. It's incredible how good it feels to work in an organization with people who are doing such good work and are so passionate about it.
Thank you. Any other, Denise?
Yeah, I can. Well, maybe we should have left Anna for last, but yeah, I think my advice is like I was a person that was not sure when I was asked to like run, and I don't regret it at all. I think that this is a wonderful opportunity to get involved. And as Anna was saying, to get involved with such wonderful people that are here for like the same goals and the same mission, and they make it easier. I mean, it's a lot of work, but for me, I look forward to when we have the meetings and I'm here at the job, and when we have the meetings, when we finish, it's such a good feeling because you feel like you're adding to a movement and pushing that movement along. I don't know how to really like express it, but it's a really good feeling to be involved in a movement like this. And as Anna was saying, I wasn't familiar with Google Docs, and I learned it like, relatively quickly. I wasn't familiar with the box, and I learned it pretty, very quickly. So I think those are just opportunities for us to kind of grow, to grow professionally and become more involved in stuff that maybe we kind of worried about and stuff, or like maybe afraid of or not too sure about. I would say go for it, take the opportunity. It's a wonderful opportunity to kind of learn and be involved. So.
Anyone else want to jump in? No pressure.
Araceli,
Okay.
creo que lo que
Araceli, what Anna and Denise said, it's the most important. I think the main thing to be on the board is to have the desire, because the other tools you can learn on the way. And me personally, when I was asked to be part of the federation and representative, I had doubts because I didn't have enough information at that moment. And I don't have it all now, but there was so much motivation. They told me, you're gonna learn, you're gonna grow as a person. And being with my peers, I've learned so many things. And like Denise mentioned, like being at each meeting and all the wisdom and the knowledge that I've gained for myself, personally in my life and my cooperative, my co-op. Some people don't have the opportunity to use technology or to be really savvy with those things. But I just feel like I've been helped even with those limitations, that I have the strength and I'm able to do it. So there's no limitations. If you are here, you're gonna get the support. So the main thing is to have the enthusiasm and the desire. You have to go to meetings, you might get tired, but at the end, after each meeting, you come out with that motivation and wanting to meet again, because you're doing things for other people too. So helping each other between peers and co-ops, I think that's the main point. So I invite you to be part of the board. Thank you.
Thank you. Hillary, do you have anything you want to share? If not, I can close this out.
Run for the board. We need you. We need your leadership. Join us.
And I was just going to say, from a staff perspective, we've got 4 seats that are coming open, and I think it's just a really great opportunity for new voices to emerge from the worker co-op movement, and also democratic workplaces from across the country. But this regional election is really important because the folks that fill these seats are really going to be the advocate for the region, and the advocate to help grow that movement within their region. So I think it's important to, if you're like reluctant, to be brave and just throw your name in the hat. And from a staff perspective, we're here to support you. During this transition for last year, we interviewed everyone on the board and asked directly, what is it you want to get out of this? So some of the answers we received were, some folks wanted to learn how to read financial statements better and have a better sense on operational things. So our finance person had one-on-one meetings to help walk them through our financial statements, so they're able to feel equipped to ask the questions that are really important. So it's just a really great way to grow your own professional development. And the other piece is worker co-ops are rooted in democracy and governance. So it's a great way to really, learn more about how to sharpen your governance thinking. And it's a great way to be, participatory and really the direction of the future, what's going to happen next. So I just hope folks will put their name in the hat and be a part of the solution. One other thing I want to say is, if you have questions, feel free to email the info@usworker.coop. If you have just more questions, sometimes webinars will just spark, more curiosity. So we are always checking that email. And I want to make sure if there are any other closing remarks that everyone has a chance to share. Otherwise, we can close it out.
I think there's a question in the chat, or I don't know if we answered some of that.
Yeah, I've seen that. Raquel, would you like to share that question out loud?
Sí, puedo volver a repetir la pregunta, no más.
Yeah, I can repeat the question. If there's any specific experience or learning that you have gotten from being on the board that you're gonna take to your individual co-op, or if there's something that has helped you as board director, but and also to your co-op, because that maybe can help you help someone else.
I can answer. There's a couple of things that I think I'm taking away that would benefit CHCA. Last week we had a training on governance and like a kind of like an intro to the board and what are the expectations as a board member. And, you know, it was something like relatively simple, but really never thought about kind of doing it here for like our board members and stuff. So I think that that's something that I was taking away, and I mentioned that I would bring back to the orientation that we do for our board members, our newly elected board members. I think there's a lot of, when we go on Zoom in these board meetings, in the board meetings, we do check-ins. Sometimes at work, we don't normally do that. We just go straight into it. So for me, I always enjoy, because I always get to hear from everyone, you know, what's going on for them, what's making the day good, and it's just something as simple as a check-in, you know, that sometimes here at work, we just zoom into it to work and nobody really does a check-in. So it's just simple things, I think, you know, participating in the bylaws committee. I did that because I wanted to learn more so I can bring it back to CHCA, take a look at our bylaws and see, you know, how we do things, what's kind of similar, what's different, what should we keep in mind. So I think it's an opportunity. There's a lot of opportunities to bring back what we're learning and what we're doing in the Federation to your own cooperative. Yeah.
Thank you, Denise. Basically, you know, as you're learning, you're able to pay it forward, right? All right. Well, if we don't have any other questions, we can go ahead and close this out. And I really appreciate anyone that listens in on this recording in the next few weeks. And we're looking forward to your nominations. Yeah.
Thank you,
Bye,
Gabby.
everyone.
Thank you, interpreters. Our wonderful